And so I'm sitting here in this rubble of my life. I've lost everything. I've let it all go. I've burned it all down. And with my eye, I just had to pause and I had to get still and I had to ask those questions. I think when we get to that place and we can truly see our story and we can truly see ourselves for the very first time, that's when we can shift and stop saying, why me?
Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast that's all about celebrating and empowering the incredible hardworking mothers out there. I'm your host, Mary Dibble. I'm on a mission to equip you with the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to conquer the challenges of motherhood and life, all while embracing your radiant self. Join us each week for amazing guest interviews, relatable stories, and a whole lot of fun. We're here to create a vibrant, supportive community where we can be our authentic selves, where no one feels alone, and where we uplift and cheer each other on along this incredible journey of motherhood. So, fellow Radiant Moms, get ready to rise, shine, and conquer the world. Let's grow together, laugh together, and make every week a celebration of the powerful, radiant moms we are. This is Radiant Mom Rising, and you're part of a community where your brilliance shines through. Are you ready to rise with us? Let's get started. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I want you to meet Stephany Ann, an extraordinary woman. She's an attorney, recipient of the Governor's Award for Advocacy with Survivors of Domestic Violence, and international best-selling author who triumphed over narcissistic abuse. With 2 marriages to narcissists behind her, she's harnessed the transformative power of emotional freedom technique, EFT, to guide others on their path to healing and personal growth. Her transformation came when she shifted from why me to for me. Stephany's journey is incredibly powerful and eye-opening. Her willingness to share such intimate and difficult experiences is truly courageous. In this episode, we delve deep into her journey through abusive relationships, a struggle with victimhood, and finally finding empowerment and healing. Through Stephany's own narrative, we discover the transformation from feeling trapped in toxic cycles to finding strength in rewriting her story. Her use of EFT as a powerful tool for healing offers hope and guidance to those navigating similar challenges. This episode is an inspiring testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the possibility of reclaiming one's power even in the face of adversity. Without further ado, Stephany Ann.
Today, I have Miss Stephany Ann here with me. Thank you so much for joining me, Stephany. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you for having me, Mary. I'm really honored to be here on your show and to just have some conversations with
Oh, I'm
you.
so excited. Yes, absolutely. Now, today, we're going to be talking about a touchy subject for a lot of people that are going through things. We feel like this is an important conversation that so many of us may be afraid to talk about, maybe need to hear some of these things. So I'm going to have Stephany just share her journey and her experience. Stephany, can you share with us, first of all, you're courageous and brave for coming on here and sharing this. I appreciate that. Tell us what you've been through and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, like I said, thank you for having me on here. For years, I was living a completely different story through a lens of why me. And it's only recently do I feel like I've really broken a pattern of calling people into my life through relationships that will teach me the lessons that I still needed to learn about owning this as my story, not someone else's story, of healing those parts within me that have had me feeling unworthy of love so that I would call in these people who would reflect that back to me over and over and over again through the manipulations, through the gaslighting, through the criticisms, through the abusive words, and just kind of through the feeling of never feeling like you're enough. And and through the ways that they actually showed up as teachers that I needed. And I can say now, for a long time, I looked at my two past marriages as these men were monsters to me. Why are these two guys trying to destroy my life? But it's only just recently that I've been able to look at these two marriages and I can see them as teachers and not as monsters. So over the years, I would continue to ask, why me? Why is all this stuff happening to me? Lived a good life. I was the good Christian girl who went to church. I did the right things. I went to college. I went to law school. I traveled the world. I became a good mom. And still, these things were happening in my life. And I think maybe there was a part of me that was still drawn into the drama, drawn into the story, drawn into the victimhood of what was happening to me versus what was for me. And it wasn't until about after 17 years within these two marriages, and the second marriage ended in violence, where I found myself going blind in both of my eyes. Yes, I was on a boating trip with some friends and I had sunburned my eye. And so I went to the eye doctor and she said my eyes looked like someone had scraped sandpaper over them. They were so bad. So I couldn't see for 6 weeks. And so, I'm sitting there, I can't see. I feel like all these things have happened to me. And I was literally just sitting in the rubble of my old life. And I was sitting in this mess, feeling like everything had been done to me, blaming these men who had inflicted all of this onto me, just sitting in victimhood, saying, why me? I don't deserve this. Nobody deserves to be treated poorly and to be treated without respect. It is in that moment, thinking about my eye, where did this come from? Maybe there's a lesson here. And I actually wasn't seeing my life clearly. And so, sometimes I think God, the universe, source, whatever it is that you resonate with, they give us these moments in time, whether it's through losing everything or through a physical manifestation like my eye. And so, if we give ourselves some grace and we get curious and we start asking these questions like, why can't I see what is going on here in my life? What am I missing? And I really felt that at that moment, I needed to see my story through a different lens. I needed to shift the perspective of my story. I needed to stop saying, why me? Like, why all these things happening to me? And it was really, I needed to shift from the victim story to the hero story. I wanted to be the hero of my story. I didn't want to give these men power over my story. And so it was only when I started to shift my story that I was able to see these guys as teachers in my life and not as monsters. And as I started to take my power back, I could finally see what really needed to be healed. I could see what needed to be released. I could see where I needed more compassion. I could see where I needed to forgive. But ultimately, I could see the patterns and shifts in my story that I thought was my reality, but it wasn't no longer. And it's a pattern of, well, as I look at all these women out there, and that there are men too. So, I want to include the men as well.
Mhm.
But you find yourselves in these narcissistic or abusive relationships. It's a pattern. It's a pattern of unworthiness. And sometimes it's so hard to see that because of the love bombing and it's good in the beginning. It's great.
Yeah.
and then the trauma bond. And it's hard to see what is right in front of us until maybe we lose everything. And so I'm sitting here in this rubble of my life. I've lost everything. I've let it all go. I've burned it all down. And with my eye, I just had to pause and I had to get still and I had to ask those questions. I think when we get to that place and we can truly see our story, we can truly see ourselves for the very first time, that's when we can shift and stop saying, why me? But what is for me? And I remember driving, I was on my way to my sister's house in San Diego, and I was driving, just thinking about all of this. I remember making that shift, and I really felt like God saying, it is done. You have shifted the pattern. And that's why I'm here today, to tell other listeners out there, to tell other women who are listening to this podcast, that when when you make that shift from why me to for me, you can see the lessons, you can shift the pattern, and it can be done in your life. And when it's done, that's true freedom. So, for me, sitting there and having this victim mentality, like all of this is happening to me, I couldn't see the lessons. And if you can't see the lesson, you don't know what to heal,
Like,
right?
or even how to grow, like, from
Or
it.
how to,
Yeah,
yeah,
how to make a different outcome for yourself, because that is possible. I mean, it's not easy when you're in that situation. And so I would like to ask if there was a listener out there who might be in a situation where they are in a relationship with a narcissist, and please, by all means, too, we can, you know, go further into what exactly that means, because sometimes some people don't even realize that they're with a narcissist. So I'll start with that actually first. Like, can you, for somebody who's listening, who might not even really understand what that means, like, what is that meaning of being in a relationship that's with somebody like that?
yeah. Well, and I didn't know I was in those types of relationships. I had no idea. As someone with my background, I'm an attorney. I was a domestic violence advocate. I won the governor's award for our state for my advocacy with domestic violence. But I didn't know I was in those relationships because it's just little things over time. But when you step back, you can see that in the totality, it was horrible. Yeah. And so, what is a narcissist? What are some characteristics of a narcissistic personality or disorder? One of the things is an inflated sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, a constant need for admiration. They're preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited power, success, beauty, belief that they are so special and they can only be understood by special people. A need for excessive admiration, a sense of entitlement, arrogant. It's just yeah, the list goes on. But they use the manipulation, and so criticizing and that manipulation, gaslighting, and gaslighting is when you you have your story, you have your version of what happened, but slowly over time they try to convince you that wasn't what happened. That wasn't the story. Does that make sense? And so
Abs-
you start to become very confused.
Yes.
And it happened all the time. Like I remember going back and reading my journals and just being like, I constantly wrote, there's this Jekyll Hyde personality going on with both my husbands. It's like I would have this reality, this aversion of the events that would happen. And they would constantly say, it didn't happen like that, Stephany.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Make
it
you
gets,
question yourself, like make you
you start to question
yeah,
yourself.
doubt
You start to
yourself.
feel crazy. You doubt yourself and you're like, no, I was there. I have my journal entries here, and so one thing I would say is if you think you might be in this sort of relationship, start journaling. Journal your reality because they slowly over time try to convince you that what happened really didn't happen. Or, just with little things. I'm trying to come up with an example, but I'm not able to come up with one. How?
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 I get that. Because I can see how they would do that, like trying to tell you that, oh, you're just taking it the wrong way, or you're seeing it this way. This is what really went down, and
mhm,
but no, you said this, and it's like, no, I didn't, and or
yeah.
they
You're
have
too sensitive.
yes,
You're taking
exactly.
things too personally. I was just joking. I didn't mean to, I wasn't saying it that way, but you just keep taking things this way because you're super sensitive. Oh, you're going to start your period this month. Oh, it's the moon cycle.
Oh,
Little
mhm.
belittlings and little things like that.
And they do. I think that they have a tendency to want to keep you down because they don't want you to know your worth. Because if you did, then you'd leave them, and they know
Mhm.
that. And so that's part of their strategy with you is to make you feel that they're as good as it gets. You're never going to
Oh,
find anything
yeah.
better than that. And that's something I experienced in a lot of my things that kept me down and kept me from feeling like I can leave, like I should leave because I thought, okay, no one's going to love me any better than this. This is probably as good as it gets, and kind of like settling in that mentality, like, okay, well, maybe I can make this work. Maybe we can find a way to be better. Or maybe I kept feeling like I needed to be better. I'm not showing up good enough. Maybe I needed to change the way I'm doing things. Maybe I'm not being loving enough. Maybe I'm not giving him enough sex. Maybe I'm not, you know what I mean? And it's always me, me, me. Like, what can I do?
Yeah.
What can I do? He didn't have to do anything more. He was just fine. He was giving
Yeah.
enough of what he wanted, but it was always like I had to change something. I had to fix something. And that's exhausting. That's no way to be in a relationship. And from being on the other side of that to finally having a man who loves the crap out of me for who I am, good and bad, it will blow your mind. Like that is possible. And especially when it takes you working on you and getting to the
Yes.
point where you become so strong and your values and who you are, and trusting that there, first of all, you have to believe, because even though I went through abusive relationships in my past, I never stopped believing that good men exist. My soulmate's out there. And I think that's important, because sometimes when you go through so much disappointments and horrible relationships, there comes a point where you're like, do they exist? Am I ever going to meet a good guy? And it's easy to fall into, but trust me, there are good men out there. If you just keep moving forward, because there's life after this. If you don't mind to share, what was your experience like of not only recognizing that you were in these relationships, but making that decision to leave?
Well, with my first husband, Josh, we were married for 13 years and I would call him a covert narcissist. So he's very, what's the word I've been looking for? He's charming. He's everyone's best friend. He wants to rise to the top in leadership. We were involved in the church at the time and he took on a leadership role. He wanted the attention, he wanted the admiration. And he also wanted all the women to adore him. And so for him, he cheated all the time, emotional affairs, and some I don't even know, but he made it easy because he's the one he ultimately left with another woman in the church.
Mm. And
This happens in the
it's
church.
still a blessing in disguise,
Ev-
because I mean, sometimes it's hard as a woman to make that move and leave. So sometimes things happen like that because maybe God knows, okay, she's not going to leave him, so I got to make it happen for her. So
Well, and yeah, and like you were saying, everything kind of comes back to us. And so it's like I'm constantly, well, what did I do wrong? How can I love him better? How can I make this relationship work? Do we need to go to therapy? Do we need to do this? And so I'm constantly trying to improve myself, but he was never willing to do anything. And so, after a while, it's like, well, okay, well, I'll just focus on the kids. I'll be a good mom. Um, I'll still,
Attention, hardworking moms. Are you ready to kickstart your journey to a thriving online business? Introducing Learn and Earn Profits Online Max, a groundbreaking digital resale course that's revolutionizing success. Learn how to create your own funnel and sell this exact course, pocketing a whopping 100% of the profits. Yes, you heard that right, 100% yours. Lipo Max is an enhanced platform packed with incredible modules and valuable insights designed to elevate your online business game. Don't miss this chance to join a supportive community where hard work meets exceptional opportunities. Say goodbye to the hassle of creating courses from scratch. Lipo Max does the heavy lifting for you, empowering you to learn and earn in an environment tailored for your success. Act fast and secure your spot in this game-changing program and set yourself up for a prosperous life. Join the Lipo Max community today. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more or contact me today with any questions.
we still went to church. We still did all these things. He was still my husband, but I didn't trust him. I mean, my trust for him was like this much. And, and growing up in the church like that too, it's like, well, you don't get a divorce, you make it work. Well, what can you do after 13 years and they're not trying to help make this marriage work and they're seeking validation and approval and stuff from women outside of our marriage? And so I do remember with him, and again, it's changing the perspective and seeing your story. I can now say, thank you. You did something that I wasn't able to do.
Yeah.
I should have left a long time ago, but you can't also get on yourself for staying. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being the good mom, the good wife, and just kept praying and stuff, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And so if I could go back in time, of course I would have left a lot earlier, but he chose to leave and he walked out and he told me, he's like, I'm setting you free.
Yeah.
And at the time I didn't see all of that.
Of course.
I can see it all now. And then, going back to the healing, I spent a couple of years healing and working on myself. But again, I was still stuck in this story of the victim. I was the victim. My husband cheated on me. He cheated on me all the time. And all this stuff happened to me. I was the good wife. And so by the time I was ready for another relationship, I thought I was healed. Even though I was still stuck in the victim story, I thought I was healed. And so when I was ready to start dating, I made my list. I'm a manifester. I get what I asked for. I made the list. I wanted tall, dark, handsome, a divorced dad with boys. I was very specific.
Wow. Yeah.
And so a week later, I meet him and I'm thinking he's my gift from God, my gift from the universe. I manifested him. This was my happily ever after. And this is husband number 2 with Jace. And so again, I'm trying to play it safe. We met online and I didn't want to meet. I really just wanted to get to know him without all the physical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I didn't know he too was a narcissist. And that's the thing with God or the universe, source, whatever, whomever you resonate with. I got exactly what I wanted with all the unlearned lessons.
And that's an important aspect right there of like, sometimes you think you know what you want. Be careful what you ask for because you'll get it one way or another. And if you go into it like you say, with those unlearned lessons. It can be tricky.
Yep, the universe gives us a second round of, okay, you didn't get it the first time, Stephany. Let's try it again. And
Yes.
I will tell you what, I only stayed 4 years in this one. It wasn't 13 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. At least you learned from the first one that once you were able to recognize that, to let it go sooner than later. So
Mhm. Well, and people say, well, there's red flags. Didn't you see the red flags? Well, I think we choose to see what we want to see.
oh yes.
And when you are in this relationship, like, okay, here I manifested this man. This man is also telling me that he manifested me. I'm his soulmate. God brought me to him. All the love bombing. I thought it was true. And so, I didn't know. And then when I did start to see some of the red flags, oh, he drinks all the time. Oh, he's not always the nicest person. Oh, why has all his relationships failed? Why is he always talking negatively about women? But in the beginning, it was everything he loved about. Towards the end, they take all your vulnerabilities and your insecurities and they manipulate them and they criticize you with them and they turn everything around. But during that love bombing, it's hard to see the red flags. They're there. But I know for myself, I chose to look the other way because I manifested this guy. He's incredible. And I would always tell people as well, it's like I fell in love with his potential. You can't fall in love with someone's potential because 4 years later, we were still in the same place. We never moved we never went forward in our relationship. Like, you want to be
Yep.
able to better yourself. You want your spouse to help you become a better person. But we didn't go anywhere. We were just still stuck, and me still with that trauma bond just kept believing, oh, he will change. You start making excuses for it. It's because of this, it's because of that, and he still has potential. But no,
Yeah.
after 4 years,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's a pretty long time. And unfortunately, this is part of life. These are the experiences that we're going to sometimes face. And you know what? Like you say, there's a better way of seeing it, not as a failure, not as you're screwing up, but it's a lesson to be learned. Showing something about yourself, as far as like, not that there's something wrong with you, but that, maybe you're not treating your own self in the way that you need to be treating you to attract somebody who's going to appreciate that. I
oh yeah,
think was my biggest lesson from the abuse and stuff, is that because I didn't love myself, because I had no self-worth, I didn't know who I really was to my core. I didn't really understand my values. Because of that, I was easily manipulated. I was easily influenced. I attracted all the wrong people into my life because I didn't know what I know now. But it's like I don't have any hate towards any of them. Even the one who, physically abused me for the time that I was with him. Actually, it was crazy because after he got out of prison, he ended up going to prison, which is a great way that I was able to really survive that after I had made the decision.
wow,
But
yeah,
after he got it, I'll never forget him calling me and really saying sorry. He's like, Mary, you were a really good person and I ruined that. And I'm so sorry for hurting you. But at that point, thankfully, I just really moved on. Like I really had gotten past all that ways he used to be able to draw me back in and with his sweet words or whatever. So it was nice to get that closure to a point, but also be like, with the closure was happened a long time ago. Like I had already let you go and realized like I
mhm,
was so much better off and I deserved more and I deserved better. It's very hard. I know with my firstborn, my experience with him too was horrible. He left me because I wouldn't have an abortion and ended up dating a girl we worked with. So during my entire pregnancy, I'm having them rub it in my face. And he was so mean to me. He would even tell me that I should just kill myself. And it
Oh,
was
it's horrible.
traumatizing. Yeah, it was really hard experience. Cause can you imagine having to work as you're pregnant, watching the guy who got you pregnant, dating another girl? And I was professional. I mean, I had many times where I went and cried in the bathroom, and luckily I got through it. It made me stronger. It made me stronger in the end. It was definitely hard to go through in the moment that I went through it, but it made me stronger. And I've just learned through all those relationships, like you say, in the end, it's nice to be able to change from that victim mentality of like, why me? And to realizing that, you know what? I just was not in the right place for myself, and therefore attracted what I thought I wanted, but it was not the right thing for me. And so working on myself and becoming the woman that I would want to be for my
Yeah.
soulmate was exactly what attracted him to me. And I'm so thankful for that. Also, everyone says stop looking for it, right? And sometimes that kind of work, it does work. I mean, not for everyone, I guess, but for me, it did work when I stopped focusing so much on trying to find him. Because that's what I went through with another guy when my son was a little bit older, was ignoring the red flags. He didn't want nothing to do with my son. And I just ignored that because I was just so excited to be in a relationship again. And he was not good for me. And he did tear me down in his own ways. And it was after that one that I finally opened my eyes and was like, no, no more. I need to become who I want to be,
Yeah.
and it attracts what I deserve. And yeah, yeah, it's a very powerful journey, isn't it, though, to go through that,
It is.
be able to come out on the other side and see it in a different lens. And for you, it literally took you almost practically being blinded to get to that starting point. And that's a powerful message, because sometimes bad things like that can happen as another lesson, as a way of helping you to see things differently. So it's not
Yes,
happening to you, it's happening for you. And that's a great way to see
exactly.
life, right? So for the listeners out there who may be struggling with this, who may not know what to do about it, what advice would you give them right now if they were dealing with this and just need some type of hope, inspiration?
But, I would say that really, if you're still in the relationship, you can get out safely and go no contact. And even if you think that you are stuck there and you can't see a way out, it is so much better on the other side. And there's a lot of support and a lot of help out there. When I work with women who've been in these relationships, it really changes our brain. And so in order to heal from like narcissistic abuse and abuse from toxic relationships, we really have to rewire our brain. And I was very fortunate. About 3 years ago, I found EFT. And so EFT is emotional freedom techniques, and it's tapping. So you tap on the pressure points around your body, and you tap on it. And the first round is really you sitting with your emotions and owning your emotions, owning the way you feel right now. And then the second round is releasing those emotions and then tapping into the person you really want to become. And so I've found that time does not heal these relationships, these wounds. Sometimes talk therapy doesn't heal these wounds. But if you want something rapid and fast and proven to work and to transform your brain and your thinking and to really work on yourself and heal, EFT is what I've found that has been so, so incredibly helpful. So, for example, we could say someone has a lot of guilt because they stayed in a relationship too long, which I hear all the time. I mean, I even say it. Why did I stay 13 years
Yeah.
in this marriage when he gave me an out when I was in law school? Like, why'd I stay? Why'd I stay with my second husband when I had separated and filed for divorce, but then I went back to him for 3 more years? Why? Why? But with EFT, you can sit there and say, okay, even though, so, I'm tapping right here, even though I stayed and I have all this guilt because I stayed so long, I still love and accept myself always. And then you do some other tapping. So I have all this guilt and all this shame in my story. I don't even like to share my story because it makes me feel guilty and I feel bad about myself. And I should have left and I feel worthless because I stayed. So, we sit and I help you survivors process their emotions like that. And then we let it go. And then we tap into the woman or the person they want to become. So, the second round would be all this guilt, all this shame. Maybe I could see it in a different way. Maybe I could choose to see it in a different light. Maybe I can let it go now. And when I let it go, I can let it go from every part of my body. I can release it now and have freedom. And so then the third round would be I am wiser now. I am strong. I am worthy of so much more. I can do this. I am resilient. I am an amazing woman and I'm just really owning it and tapping into that. Because the more you do stuff like that, the more you've rewired your brain. And after so many years of trauma on your brain, we really have to sit down and rewire it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And and so this is how I help survivors to heal rapidly because we don't want to spend
Years.
next 10 years, like and
No.
you don't want to be like me and go to the next relationship with all the lessons that weren't healed. And so until we can change our story, you can't see all the lessons. Trust me, you don't want if you've been with a narcissist, you don't want another narcissistic relationship. Break those patterns now,
Yeah.
heal the way you need to be healed now, because I will tell you, it is not fun spending half your life in these horrible relationships.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like you say, you don't want to also takes forever just healing from it because now is now and you can make that change. You can make that difference for your life. You can start feeling good now and make a better life for your future. And it's so possible. And that's why women like me and Stephanie are here to support you and guide you. And I will make sure to share all her information where you can find her if you are somebody who has been through some traumatic experiences and want to learn more about the EFT. She's your girl. She can help you and she wants to help you. And I'd be happy to send them your way. And I think it's amazing what you do. It's beautiful that you can turn something that was traumatic for you into a way that can help others who are going through it, or even to help prevent them from having to go through it.
Mhm.
This is why we're here because we are all here to support and love one another and to guide our ways through our journeys because life is unpredictable, but it also is so amazing and it can be hard at times. And that's okay. We're all trying to figure this thing out together instead of alone, which is so important. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here on my podcast, on my space and with my energy and sharing your story and being vulnerable with us. And I really appreciate you and everything you've shared today.
Thank you. Thank you. And I really appreciate being here and being able to share my story. And I've had some friends ask me, they're like, man, Stephanie, it's very courageous of you to share your story. But if my story can touch one person, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this is something that we need more dialogue around.
No.
We need people to start sharing their stories so that they know they're not alone. Because when we all come together, there's healing in relationships. There's healing together.
I,
And like we have the keys within us to heal ourselves, to to reach our potential, to find freedom. And I'm just here to give you a tool that will help you unlock your healing.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And you're right. This is a topic that so many are afraid to talk about, probably out of guilt, shame, embarrassment. It's okay. There's so many out there that have been through that, maybe similar or close to it. It doesn't matter the severity or not. You're not alone. And it's okay to talk about because, like you say, even if we can just impact one person out there who just needed to hear this, who needs to know that there are ways out of this. There's another side to this. It's beautiful. If you have made that decision to leave, like it is possible and it's worth it. And there are many resources out there to help you depending on your situation. So, I invite anybody out there who would like to share their story as well, leave a review, comment, let me and Stephany know how we can support you further because we care about you. We want to see you grow and live the life that you deserve. Again, thank you so much, Stephany, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. Similar to Stephany's journey, life often throws unexpected changes our way. Embrace change as an opportunity for growth rather than a setback. Stephany's openness about her struggles teaches us the power of vulnerability. Don't hesitate to share your challenges. It can foster connection and support. Reflect on your ability to bounce back from tough situations. Use Stephany's resilience as inspiration to overcome your own adversities. Just like Stephany sought help through EFT and her support network, remember the importance of seeking guidance when needed. Whether through therapy, friends, or other means, support can be crucial. Consider exploring emotional freedom techniques as a potential tool for managing emotions and stress. It's a technique that involves tapping on specific meridian points to alleviate emotional distress. By considering these, you can navigate life's challenges with a more resilient and adaptable mindset. You can follow Stephany on LinkedIn and Facebook. Be sure to check out her best-selling book, Rise to Greater Heights. Lastly, subscribe to my show and leave me a review. Your feedback is much appreciated. If you want my support on your journey towards creating a life you desire, then visit me at marydibblecoaching.com or contact me on social media to learn more about how I can help you find the results you are longing for. Let us, radiant moms, continue to rise and enjoy life to the fullest. Until next time, much love.